A car sped across the bridge while, inside, a girl was having a hard time. The driver hummed to himself, occasionally glancing at her. Observing her state, he remarked that she must have drunk quite a bit and casually asked if she had been having a tough time. The girl, feeling dizzy, mentioned that she hadn't been able to fall asleep, yet she couldn't keep her eyes open. As she slumped down further, the driver smirked and took another glance. Without hesitation, he steered the car toward a warehouse, making a call to his colleague to hurry up and grab her. His companion, upon seeing the girl, cursed under his breath and commented on her body. As he pulled out a knife, the girl suddenly woke up, questioning what they were doing. Amused, the companion feigned surprise, stating that he had just been about to wake her up. With a sneer, he assured her that if she stayed still, they would make sure she had a real good time. As the girl, now fully aware, questioned why they wouldn't just call it a day, they laughed, commenting on how girls like her usually screamed the loudest. One of them began unzipping his pants. However, before he could act, the girl lunged forward, delivering a powerful kick that sent him flying. Smiling with a menacing glint in her eyes, she warned them that she had already tried to give them a chance. The scene shifted as police vans arrived at the warehouse. A police officer called out, addressing a girl by the name of Hana. As she turned to face him, she acknowledged his presence, addressing him as Lieutenant with a beaming smile. The lieutenant, cursing under his breath, admitted that he had expected her to do something reckless. Meanwhile, officers standing behind him caught sight of the woman, fully drenched in bloodstains. Some officers, staring at the scene in shock, questioned who she was, to which another officer responded by identifying her as Sergeant Hana Lee. It was explained that she was a top counterterrorism agent, scouted by a PMC from the Special Missions Unit, and had never failed a mission. Due to her exceptional skills, the bounty on her head was astronomical. Furthermore, it was revealed that she had a twin brother in the intelligence service, making her reputation even more legendary. Another officer expressed admiration for the idea of a brother-sister duo working separately in a PMC and intelligence service, calling it incredible. Excitedly, he inquired why she was in Korea and whether she would be joining their team. Before an answer could be given, the lieutenant erupted in frustration, demanding to know what was wrong with her. He reminded her that he had explicitly told her not to kill anyone. In response, Hana nonchalantly assured him that she hadn't killed them. Skeptical, the lieutenant questioned whether she was serious and gestured toward the unconscious and bloodied criminals, demanding that she take a look at the state they were in. Calmly, Hana explained that she had been drunk and had merely acted in self-defense when threatened. This only caused the lieutenant to grow more agitated. Taking a step back, Hana admitted that she might have gone slightly overboard, but promptly tossed out evidence to justify her actions. She presented a burner phone, explaining that it had been used for recording, along with the knife they had wielded. The footage captured on the phone confirmed that they had threatened her with a weapon, which counted as attempted murder and robbery. She further added that considering the other things they had tried to do to her, charges of sexual assault and intimidation could also be included. The lieutenant, exasperated, ordered her to take off her blood-stained clothes. Initially startled, he quickly clarified that he had meant her jacket, not her entire outfit. Hana shrugged, questioning whether he expected her to walk around in bloodied clothes. Reluctantly, the lieutenant handed over his jacket, muttering that if it hadn't been for her intervention, those criminals would have gotten away once again. Without hesitation, Hana accepted the jacket, stating that talk was cheap and that she needed to be compensated in cash. As she began changing her clothes, the lieutenant, visibly flustered, turned away and questioned whether she really had to get changed right there. Ignoring his embarrassment, Hana insisted that he stop changing the subject, reminding him that once those two criminals were locked up, he would receive a promotion. Grumbling, the lieutenant promised to treat her to a meal once he got his next paycheck. He then suggested that they wash the day down with soju, to which Hana agreed, on the condition that he keep her involvement in the case on the down low. She reminded him that no one was supposed to know. Assuring her not to worry, the lieutenant suddenly shifted the conversation, asking how her brother Duyi had been doing lately and where he was at the moment. Hana replied that Duyi had been traveling a lot. 2 months ago he had been in the US, then he had gone to Spain, and last week he had mentioned something about heading to Cambodia. The lieutenant remarked that Duyi had started receiving real assignments immediately after being discharged from the UDT. He noted that the overseas narcotics investigation team was notoriously intense. Hana giggled, praising her brother's intelligence. She clarified that she wasn't just saying it because he was her brother. He truly was brilliant. Just then, her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, realizing that it was from a familiar number. Her expression shifted as she hesitantly answered the call, asking if it was Du Yi. However, instead of her brother's voice, she was met with an unfamiliar whisper. The voice on the other end questioned if she was Du Yi's sister. A chill ran down Hana's spine as she processed the unfamiliar voice. The caller then asked if she was Hana Lee, to which she cautiously confirmed, demanding to know who was speaking. The voice, maintaining its eerie calmness, stated that they were calling from the National Security and Intelligence Service. The air around Hana grew heavy as the person on the other end began explaining an incident. She shuddered, gripping her phone tighter, as the voice declared that her brother didn't survive his last mission. As the lieutenant attempted to call out to Hana, asking how much longer she would be on the phone, he overheard her whisper something. Suddenly, Hana screamed into the phone, cursing and demanding not to be lied to. The person on the other end apologized as Hana insisted that none of it made any sense. There was no way Dewey could have died. She choked on her words, collapsing to the ground while the lieutenant rushed toward her. Overwhelmed by pain, Hana burst into tears, feeling as though she were going deaf and blind all at once. It seemed like some kind of awful nightmare as she continued to sob. The scene shifted to the past, where Duyi had been sobbing, blaming himself. He stated that if he hadn't complained about the food, she wouldn't have been punished. Crying, he took responsibility, saying it was all his fault, and that she had only been trying to protect him. Hana grabbed him, assuring him that he had done nothing wrong. He had only spoken the truth, that his body itched all over whenever he ate that food. She insisted that it was the head teacher's fault for trying to force him and asked if he was okay. Duyi, with determination, promised that when he grew up he would make sure no one ever hurt her again. He swore to protect her no matter what. At that moment, an image formed in Hana's mind. A haunting vision of her brother crying, covered in blood, pleading to just hold on a little longer. Hana jolted awake from the dream, gasping as her eyes landed on a photograph of her and Duyi. A shiver ran down her spine as the thought struck her. He was the reason she had returned to Korea. Before she could process it, a loud noise startled her. Flinching, she questioned where the noise was coming from. Turning her head in different directions, she soon realized that it was coming from somewhere below. Taking a cautious peek, she pulled up the mattress and spotted a phone flashing. Snatching it up, she questioned whether it could be him. Holding it tightly, she prayed that it was. As she turned it on, a voice crackled through. It was Duyi calling out to her. Hana froze, barely able to comprehend it. Frantically, she asked where he was and what was going on. Duyi tried to speak, but his voice kept breaking. Panicked, Hana screamed, saying that the signal was weak, but the call might disconnect at any second. She urged him to just tell her his coordinates. Through the static, Duyi struggled to speak, his voice barely audible. He managed to warn her to be careful as someone was trying to kill her. Hana's heart pounded as she ran out of the room, knowing she had to do something. She called out for Duyi, telling him to hold on, to stop talking, but not to hang up. Rushing to grab her belongings, she tried to track his location, but just as she reached for the door, the call was cut off. She forced herself to stay calm, trying to keep her emotions in check. The agency had declared him dead, yet he was still alive. He must have used a device that couldn't be tracked, which meant he was in serious trouble. Clutching her suitcase, she knew she had to get to Cambodia as soon as possible. Otherwise, she might actually lose her brother. The scene shifted to the island of Sicily, Italy. A figure emerged from a pool as a conversation took place regarding stolen goods. The one speaking was none other than Giulio Parentia, a powerful figure in the Sicilian mafia. A guard affirmed that the stolen goods had been taken to Cambodia. Giulio questioned who had been in charge of the situation. The guard responded that it had been Niccolo, who was shot dead at the scene. Giulio, hearing that the issue was connected to Cambodia, the guard questioned that he would not let this matter slide. Without hesitation, Giulio ordered preparations to be made, stating that they were leaving immediately. He was certain they were waiting for for him. The scene shifts as Hana calls out for someone at the airport. The person apologizes, saying he is sorry and should have done a better job protecting Du-yi. Hana assures him, addressing him as Taejun, telling him to stop crying and answer her. She calls out again, asking about Du-yi's body. Taejun states that he doesn't know, since they couldn't find it because a BB went off. He explains that he believes Du-yi stole something that belonged to the mafia, and they must have tried to eliminate him using a suicide bomber. Hana shouts, questioning if he is joking. She instructs him to listen carefully, telling him that he needs to be at the main exit of Phnom Penh Airport by 9:20 a.m. Taejun, shocked, asks what she means, questioning if she is planning to come there. Hana reveals that since he never recovered a body, she is going to find Du-yi herself, believing that she is going to find her brother alive. The scene shifts to the streets of Phnom Penh, Cambodia, as Hana waves off the heat, remarking how hot it is. She recalls that Taejun said he would drop by his office for just a minute and wonders where he is. Taejun soon arrives, calling out that he has his car ready. Taejun, a secret member of the National Security and Intelligence Service, and Du-yi's closest colleague, steps in. Hana asks where his car is, and Taejun states that he doesn't have it because he is off duty. She then questions why he stopped by his office, to which Taejun tries to explain that he had something urgent to take care of. Hana hurries him along, stating that they should go since she is melting under the heat. Hana finds Taejun's behavior suspicious as they move forward in an auto. She hands him a pad, instructing him to provide coordinates of the last location he saw Du-yi. Taejun hesitates and grows nervous before stating that it was 75k north of there, near Siem Reap, in some rundown mill village. He expresses concern for Hana, telling her that he knows she is struggling, but he doesn't think she should be getting involved. He fears that if the intelligence service or the people involved find out, things could become really complicated. Hana, undeterred, demands that he hand over all information regarding Du-yi, including details about his last mission, his contacts, the type of drug he pocketed, his clothing and shoes at the time of the explosion, and his means of transportation. She warns Taejun that if he refuses, she will show him what complicated really means. Shaken, Taejun agrees, but insists that this will be the last time he helps her. The scene shifts to Du-yi's apartment, where Hana reaches for the fridge, thinking how much the tidy space resembles him, the drinks arranged in neat rows. Yet, no matter what she considers, his death doesn't seem like him at all. She recalls that she and Du-yi had been tracking a new drug called KN47A. Taejun had explained that, to be precise, they were trying to track the Italian mafia responsible for distributing it. Unlike most hallucinogens, this drug was easy to disguise as a medical substance. However, Du-yi lost contact right before they were supposed to meet at the rendezvous point for the drugs. Taejun had run to meet him, demanding to know what was happening. It seemed as if Du-yi had decided to act alone, and to Taejun's surprise, Du-yi had a connection with the mafia that no one would have expected. Hana shuts the fridge, contemplating whether she should trust Taejun. She suspects he may have already informed his superiors about her presence. For now, she decides to keep him at a reasonable distance while extracting as much information about Du-yi as possible. She acknowledges that she must be more careful than ever, knowing that even this house is likely compromised. As she starts the TV and sets it to high volume, she hopes to prevent any potential eavesdroppers from listening in. Observing the apartment, she notes that Du-yi's obsessive tidiness was disturbed, yet the intruder failed to get the details right, such as the direction of the drink labels and the placement of the clothes hangers. She believes there must be something her brother left behind. Taking a closer look, she fixes her gaze on the lamp, realizing something. She recalls a conversation with Du-yi in which he had asked what she thought about a specific lamp. She had responded that it was a hidden projector instead of a regular bulb. It contained a tiny projection device and appeared normal when switched on, but when pressing a concealed button inside, it would display hidden messages. The projector showing all the evidence gathered by Du-yi, Hana remarks that he is an idiot at the time, questioning when he had set up such a thing. Now, given the circumstances, she realizes she has no choice. She closes her phone, thinking that she hadn't planned on ever contacting him again. Taking a deep breath, she makes a call. A moment later, a voice picks up. The person on the other end comments that it has been a while, addressing her as one. The phone rang once again, and as the call was picked up, a voice addressed Hana, remarking that it had been a while. When there was no response from her, the person on the other end questioned whether she was going to say anything, further speculating if she had gotten drunk and dialed the wrong number. perhaps mistaking him for an old lover. Hana hesitated, realizing this was exactly why she had not wanted to call in the first place. Finally, addressing him as Logan, she asked how he had been. Logan, disregarding the pleasantries, stated that they were unnecessary and immediately inquired about what she was doing in Cambodia. Taken aback by the question, Hana sarcastically responded that she might actually be his ex-lover after all, or perhaps he was simply a stalker. Logan, in turn, responded that he would never be able to live without stalking her, to which Hana remarked that if that was the case, then she supposed she could ask him for a favor. Logan assumed that she wanted him to investigate something, but Hana denied it, clarifying that she only needed some help. In return, she would send him some information regarding a case she was working on. If he took a look at it and found it interesting, she would send him more details, adding that he was definitely going to like what he saw. As Logan inquired about the nature of the case, Hana revealed that it involved the mafia, more specifically, Giulio Parenti, the capo of the Sicilian mafia, and David Mayers. Before she could say more, Logan interrupted, stating that she had already piqued his interest. A case of that magnitude was monstrous, and she had really put herself in the thick of it. Without hesitation, he assured her that he would be there as soon as possible. He then asked if there was anything else she needed. Hana stated that she required weapons, everything she might need for the task at hand. Logan affirmed that he would text her the time and location, and with that, he ended the call. Shrugging, Hana remarked that things had become serious. She knew that once she found Du Yi, she would be in trouble. Valentine's Day, the name of a private military company known for taking on only high-level missions, was far from being as romantic as one might assume. For its enemies, Valentine's Day meant only one thing: death. At a safe house operated by Valentine's Day in Cambodia, the sound of a car approaching caught the guards' attention. They raised their weapons in preparation. However, before any action could be taken, their leader stopped them, recognizing the person in question. Excitement filled his voice as he called her the One. As soon as the head of the guards saw Hana, he rushed toward her, embracing her tightly and exclaiming that she was alive. He excitedly asked how long it had been. Hana, struggling for breath, reminded him that he was choking her. The leader, interpreting her words differently, eagerly asked if that meant she was going to rejoin them. Hana, however, firmly denied it, explaining that she only needed help with something else. Shifting the conversation, she inquired about Logan's whereabouts. The person informed her that Logan was in the office, commenting that it was no surprise he had suddenly shown up out of nowhere. As Hana insisted on seeing him as soon as possible, the guards were startled by Logan's sudden appearance. Calling out for Hana, he approached. Hana greeted him, acknowledging that it was good to see him again and formally addressing him as Sir. Logan Valentine, the head of Valentine's Day, responded in kind. Inside the base, as Hana projected information onto a screen, Logan observed the details closely. He praised her for managing to gather high-profile data involving criminals sought by the FBI, CIA, and, on top of that, the Mafia. Summarizing the situation, he stated that Giulio Parenti had taken out her twin brother. Hana confirmed that the official stance was that her brother had died during the mission, but she believed he was still alive. From what she had gathered, it seemed like he had been tracking both the Russian and Italian mobs, compiling all the information in secret. Logan, wanting to be sure, asked if she was absolutely certain that Parenti had kidnapped her brother. Hana admitted that she couldn't be entirely sure, but something in her gut told her that Parenti was involved. Logan, who was familiar with the Italian mafia, found the situation strange. He explained that Parenti was not the type to kidnap people. If he wanted someone gone, he would simply have them killed. He despised wasting his time. Additionally, he pointed out that Smith and POV had been unusually close with Parenti ever since the terrorist attack that devastated Chicago about a year ago. Pausing for a moment, he then questioned why Mr. Kang was listed in the data. Hana, confused, asked what he meant. Logan revealed that Kang was one of his clients and that he had only been in the area because of him. Hana, still skeptical, questioned whether it was really Mujin Kang and whether he was Korean. She pressed for more details about who he was and what exactly he did. Logan, however, waved off her curiosity, stating that Kang was a client and that the details were confidential, even to her. His words caught Hana off guard. Deciding to move on, Logan admitted that was all he could tell her. He described Mujin Kang as a rising tycoon, adding that Parenti would never involve himself in petty drug deals. Hana considered the possibility that the information had been fabricated. She then asked Logan if he thought someone might have been impersonating Parenti. Logan agreed that it would be the simplest explanation. Impersonation was common among drug dealers, though he was surprised that intelligence agencies hadn't considered it as their first assumption. Muttering to himself, he speculated whether it had been intentional. Just then, a noise interrupted their discussion. Both turned toward the source as a new presence entered the room. The newcomer, without hesitation, stated that he didn't mean to intrude, but was reminded of intelligence they had received earlier that morning. He revealed that Giulio Parenti's goods had been stolen by Mezza, a highly competent criminal organization. This time, the real goods had been taken. Hana's thoughts raced as she analyzed the information. Her focus shifted to the man who had just spoken. Before she could ask, the man extended his arm toward her, introducing himself with a polite smile. Greeting that it's a pleasure to meet her, while his name is Unsong Yu. Hana shakes his hand, affirming that it is nice to meet him. Hana wonders if he is Korean as he extends his hand. Unsong expresses his hope that he can be of help to her while she stays here, mentioning that it is always nice to see Koreans around. Hana questions whether he really can be of help, glancing at him before stating that she will not turn down the offer. The scene shifts to the next morning, Dui's apartment, where Taejun questions where Hana has gone, frustrated that he has no way to contact her. From behind, Hana asks if something is wrong, causing Taejun to freeze before turning to her. He questions whether she realizes how dangerous this place is and insists that she cannot just walk around like that. Hana, unfazed, suggests that they go inside since it is hot outside, leaving Taejun in utter shock. Inside the apartment, Hana gulps down a bottle as Taejun asks if she needs to go somewhere, insisting that she should go with him. He questions what would happen if something were to go wrong while she is alone, emphasizing that he does not understand why she, despite knowing how terrible things are, still acts recklessly. Hana affirms that he is right. There is a lot she does not know about this case involving her brother, and even about him despite all the years that have passed. She suddenly takes out a gun, threatening him as Taejun becomes alarmed. Hana points it at him, warning that he had better make the right choice. Taejun yells at her as she accuses him, stating that the information he gave her was incomplete, especially regarding the surveillance video. She questions whether he ever thought something seemed off about Dewey's behavior in the dashcam footage. She points out that he entered the building where the mobsters were but was dragged back out before the explosion went off. She demands to know why they would show his face clearly against the camera if they were planning to kill him, suggesting that the entire thing seemed staged. She questions how the intelligence service could have pronounced him dead based on that video alone, pointing out that it was not even the original copy but an edited version. Holding her gun firmly, she threatens Taejun, demanding if he has anything to say. Taejun, sweating, tries to explain that they actually found a body wearing a suicide vest. He exclaims that it was so badly damaged that an autopsy was impossible. Hana questions what he makes of that, causing Taejun to mutter that the body was wearing Dooye's dog tag, which was why they assumed it was him. Hana scoffs at his reasoning, criticizing that he identified someone beyond recognition just because of an ID. Taejun desperately tries to convince her that he is telling the truth this time, but Hana immediately picks up on his wording and questions what he means by this time. She declares that from this moment on, Taejun is an accomplice in the case, much to his shock. She threatens him, stating that if he stops snooping on her, she will pretend to believe his lies. She warns him to tell his superiors that she has not left Dooye's apartment since yesterday, pressing him to confirm his understanding. Chills run down Taejun's spine as he affirms her demand. Hana nods in the air as she stands still, but Taejun finds the situation odd. As he turns his face slightly, he is suddenly knocked out. Yeonsong, standing over Taejun's unconscious body, remarks on what a heartbreaking betrayal it is. Hana, unfazed, comments that it is too early to call it betrayal just yet, as they will have to wait and see how the story unfolds. The scene shifts to dawn, where Unsong enters and questions if Hana is planning to head out now. She affirms, explaining that Logan provided the coordinates to the safe house where the Cambodian crime syndicate is likely to head. Unsong acknowledges that it is the prime location, but advises her to lay low until she receives further instructions. He informs her that Parenti will be making a move soon, since something had been stolen from him. Hana, cautious, states that she needs to sneak in before they arrive. Unsong, assuring her not to worry, emphasizes that their side has the advantage. Hana scoffs, sarcastically agreeing with him. Yunsong then shifts the conversation, asking Hana if she is seeing someone. Finding the question strange, Hana asks why he is bringing it up. Yunsong, smiling, states that it is because he is interested. Hana scoffs, sarcastically affirming that she is. Yunsong, amused, teases her about her supposed lover, guessing that he should back off before receiving another scolding. He playfully remarks that he hopes she will make it out alive. Hana, now wearing her helmet, dashes out as Unsong watches, smiling to himself. He finds her remark interesting and mutters to himself that it is a shame. At the Valentine's Day safe house, Hana arrives, believing that Valentine's Day had been in and out of this place and that the weapons were likely ready. She opened the 2 bags and placed them in front of her, trying to gauge the weapons inside. She remarked to Du Yi, questioning what exactly he had dragged her into while assuming that everything was set. As she observed her surroundings, she wondered if Du Yi could give her just one more sign that he was still alive. Days passed and Hana remained underground preparing. One day Logan called out to her, confirming that everything was fine on her end. Hana responded that nothing had happened yet and admitted that she almost felt too relaxed. Despite her words, there was something she had been waiting to ask him. About Unsong, she questioned whether he was really part of Valentine's Day. Logan, slightly taken aback, asked why she would say such a thing. Hana explained that Unsong had not been wearing one of the badges and nothing about him indicated that he was part of the group. Logan simply replied that there was no comment, mentioning that Liu was difficult to deal with. Hana, having never heard that name before, expressed her confusion. Logan attempted to explain, but before he could, a sudden noise startled Hana. She quickly dropped her phone and pointed her gun at Unsong, who introduced himself as Edward Liu, which is what they call him in the US. Hana questioned whether that was truly his name, trying to confirm his identity. She demanded to know how he had entered. Logan, still on the phone, commented that he assumed Yunsong had arrived and reminded her that he had warned her. Yunsong was not someone easily dealt with. Hana ended the call, telling Logan she would call him back. Turning back to Yunsong, she asked why he had shown up without any warning. Yunsong casually responded that he enjoyed surprising people, adding that she had not really given him much choice. Annoyed by his arrogance, Hana gestured for him to take a seat before asking again why he had come all the way there. Unsong smirked, remarking that he thought she might be bored. Hana, unimpressed, told him to cut the nonsense. Unsong dramatically claimed that her words hurt and stated that he was there for personal business. He had his own score to settle with Mesa. Hana narrowed her eyes, considering the situation. She was supposed to investigate the syndicate, one of the drug cartels controlling Cambodia. They had not been satisfied with just stealing from Parenti, and they had also killed someone from the Sicilian mafia. She wondered how Unsong had become involved in this and what Logan had been thinking. Before she could voice her thoughts, Unsong assured her that she need not worry. He would not interfere with her mission. According to him, she would take care of Gio Parenti while he would deal with Mesa, just as planned. However, before he could continue, Hana abruptly grabbed him by the collar, stating that he was not a Valentine's Day agent. Yunsong paused before questioning whether he had ever claimed to be one. He whispered that all he had said was that he would help her while she was in Cambodia, asking if she remembered. As Hana recalled their conversation, she demanded to know who he was affiliated with. Instead of answering, Yunsong leaned in as if to kiss her, but before anything could happen, her phone rang. It was Logan. Hana quickly answered, greeting him as he informed her that Mesa was on the move. He explained that their target would arrive at the coordinates in 3 hours, accompanied by 40 heavily armed men. The group had 1 trailer, 2 shipping containers, and 6 trucks. Parenti had already picked up on their movements and was keeping close watch. Logan then asked if she believed she could handle the situation. With determination, Hana considered his question. She wondered how things had reached this point. Afterwards, Hana took a deep breath. She muttered, "How did it come to this?" The scene shifted, revealing her drenched in blood as a figure loomed over her, greeting her. As the person loomed over Hana, greeting her in Italian, she found herself questioning how she had ended up in such a situation. An hour earlier, as she had approached the location, she had stated that she couldn't engage directly since she had planned to sneak into the trailer. Instead, she had aimed for the trails of trucks in front of it. When Logan had asked if she intended to hold up the entire group until Giulio Parenti arrived, she had denied it, explaining that she would detonate the landmine when Meza appeared, slip into the trailer under the cover of chaos, and wait for Giulio Parenti to show up. She had further clarified that she was following the minimal force route, meaning she would buy just enough time to get inside the trailer. Yoon-sung acknowledged her plan, cautioning her not to die. Hana questioned what he meant, to which Yoon-sung had simply chuckled, admitting that he was starting to like her more than he had expected. Shrugging it off, she had remarked that his teasing was getting old, prompting Yoon-sung to comment that she was just mean. He then reminded her to get ready, as the targets were approaching. He informed her that the first target would arrive in 3 minutes, while the second target had been spotted with 5 black SUVs, trailing 25 minutes behind the first. He revealed that Parenti was with them. Hana acknowledged this, signaling that there was 1 minute left. As the cars approached, Eun-sung continued the countdown before Hana detonated the explosives. The blast had erupted, sending a cloud of ash into the air. Eun-sung detected signs of life inside the trailer, and Hana had confirmed as she sneaked inside, attempting to open it, only to find several armored guards waiting. Without hesitation, she raised her gun and fired, taking them down one by one. Eun-sung then warned her about an enemy approaching from her 11 o'clock. As Hana barely managed to react, turning just in time, but before she could fire, the enemy had already been shot. Eun-sung assured her that he had taken care of it, and Hana, still furious, thanked him as the blood splattered across her face. After disposing of the body, Hana inquired about the second target's location. Eun-sung reported that it was 5 minutes away and moving at high speed, predicting a large collision. Surprised, Hana cursed, suspecting that they might be planning to ram into them. Hearing voices, she overheard someone cursing, demanding to know who had tampered with the cargo without permission and whether they had any idea who it belonged to. Another voice had responded, confirming that it was Giulio Parenti's goods. The gangster yelled in frustration, swearing that if he had known this would happen, he would never have signed the contract. Listening to this, Hana deduced that he had never wanted Parenti's goods in the first place. Yoon-sung then warned that a collision was imminent, and within moments the car had crashed into the truck, causing it to roll over. A heavy metal container had fallen on Hana, injuring her. As Eun-sung called out asking if she was alright, Hana groaned in pain, drenched in blood. Summoning her strength, she pulled out the pod and prepared herself. Just then the door opened and someone stepped inside. With a trembling hand, she pointed her gun at the intruder, warning that she would shoot if he took another step. The man simply reached for her gun, pressing the barrel against his forehead, urging her to go ahead and fire. Taken aback, Hana hesitated, as the man had stated that he had been waiting to die, as it was Giulio himself. As Hana quickly glanced at his bodyguard, she flinched as she had tried to react. However, before she could do anything, Giulio struck her unconscious. As he lifted her up, his guard asked what he planned to do with her. With a sinister smile, Giulio ordered him to take her along, remarking that he needed to see whether she would prove useful. Afterwards, in a dimly lit room, Hana slowly regained consciousness, blinking as she struggled against the ropes binding her. As she tried to free herself, a voice commented on her quick reflexes. Flinching at the sudden sound, Hana looked up to see the figure of Giulio standing before her. He exhaled smoke, questioning who she was and whether she had been waiting for him inside the trailer. Hana paused momentarily before confirming that she had been. Giulio then inquired about her reasons, to which Hana whispered something unexpected. Before she answered, he had to take off his clothes. The remark took Giulio by surprise. Hana stated that he shouldn't expect her to leave the bathroom looking like that, prompting a sarcastic remark from Hana, who noted how filthy she was. Giulio, visibly annoyed, grabbed Hana's face and demanded to know who had told her she would be leaving alive. He further questioned whether she was attempting to flirt with him. In response, Hana gasped, denying any such intentions, but she assured him that he would end up needing her. Giulio narrowed his eyes and repeated her words, questioning whether he would really need her. Without warning, he thrust his fingers into her mouth, causing her to recoil in shock. She immediately demanded to know what he was doing, but Giulio simply ordered her to open her mouth wider. He stated that if this was what she wanted, she had better get used to things like this. He then questioned whether she truly thought that way. Hana hesitated for a moment before clarifying that he had misunderstood her. However, before she could say more, the door swung open as a guard entered, calling out to Giulio and questioning what he was doing. Hana immediately recognized the newcomer. The guard, observing the situation, remarked that he thought Giulio had been planning to kill her and questioned what was taking so long. In response, Giulio roughly pushed Hana's face away, stating that he had intended to kill her. After all, she had come to kill him, but before he knew it, she had been coming on to him, and he had ended up toying with her instead. The guard, surprised by the response, warned Giulio not to tell him that he was getting distracted again. However, upon receiving a sharp glare from Giulio, he quickly retracted his words, visibly fearful. The guard then stated that he had only been concerned. Hana, glancing at Giulio, tried to make sense of the situation. Though she didn't understand much Italian, she could tell that something strange was going on. She discreetly slipped out a small knife, carefully cutting through the ropes binding her. She knew she needed to find the right moment to make her move. Meanwhile, the guard, determined to resolve the situation, stated that he would handle it from that point on. Drawing his gun, he announced that he would finish the job cleanly. However, Giulio intervened, stating that the guard needed to leave and report the previous day's incident instead. Just as he spoke, a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck the ceiling, causing debris to sprinkle down. Giulio quickly turned his attention to Hana, who had overpowered the guard. The man groaned in pain as Hana pointed the gun at Giulio, warning him not to come any closer. The guard continued to writhe in pain as Giulio smirked, commenting that it seemed like they had done a poor job of tying her up. Hana, undeterred, stated that it wouldn't have made a difference. She had already set her mind on tracking him down. As she listened carefully, she could hear approaching footsteps. She firmly declared that nothing would stop her from completing what she had come to do. The injured guard winced in pain as Giulio observed her closely. He questioned whether she had been looking for him all along. Hana, keeping her weapon steady, asked if he still hadn't figured it out. She then revealed that he had fallen into her trap. She was the one who had orchestrated the entire situation, drawing him into it. Before she could respond, more guards rushed into the room. One of them called out to him, prompting Giulio to demand what exactly Hana wanted from him. Hana, unwavering in her stance, stated that she needed his help. She then made him an offer. If he agreed to assist her, she would lead him to the man who had been impersonating him. The scene shifted toward the accident site as police officers conducted their investigation. One officer asked Eun-song what should be done with the bodies. Pondering for a moment, Eun-song took out some money and stated that they could dispose of them however they wished, as they were just a bunch of criminals anyway. He added that they could take all the credit for catching them. While thinking about Parenti and his gang having taken the weapons box and the trailer containing the cocaine, he considered that the only remaining matter to handle was something else. Approaching a corpse, Eun-song took the phone and unlocked it using the password. Erasing all the data, he thought about how he had arrived much later than expected. Calling out for Taejun, Eun-song remarked that he hadn't seen him since Hana had beaten him up. Noting that it looked like he had survived, Taejun affirmed the statement. Eun-song then questioned why Taejun had never mentioned earlier that Hana and Doo-yi were twins. Taking out his gun, he watched as Taejun scratched his head before responding that he had not considered it important. Eun-song, however, stated that it had become important now, as he needed information on Han Lee. Taejun shouted that she was nothing more than an ordinary citizen these days and that Doo-yi was her only living family member. That, he explained, was why she could not give up on him and had come all the way there. However, Eun-song cut him off, stating that it was for him to decide. Aiming his gun at Taejun, he threatened him, warning him to start being useful before he got rid of him. This made Taejun gulp in fear as Eun-song finally lowered the gun before leaving. Taejun then questioned whether Eun-song was interested in Hana. Eun-song affirmed, stating that she was an alluring woman, which was why he was reconsidering his plans, pointing his gun at the corpse as he shot him. Meanwhile, the scene shifted toward Giulio, who questioned whether Hana was really going to chase down the person impersonating him. He remarked that it seemed a bit too late for that, considering that the Mesa operatives had been killed by a sniper at the scene. He added that he had not even gotten the chance to question them as he had wanted. Hana countered, stating that her brother had been tracking his imposter and that if he helped her, they might be able to find out who was behind everything. Giulio then inquired about her brother, referencing a rumor that had been going around. Hana stated that according to the rumor, her brother had allegedly been targeted for assassination by a foreign intelligence service agent. Giulio questioned whether that meant he was already dead, but Hana denied it, insisting that he was still alive. That, she explained, she had come to find him as she needed to be sure. Julio questioned whether she was trying to confirm that he had been the one to kill her brother, but Hana denied it, clarifying that she wanted to confirm that he had not. Julio remarked that her brother must have been very dear to her, to which Hana attempted to brush off the statement. She thought to herself that her plan had been to get Parenti's attention all along. Hana then asked, "What does he say about the plan?" Considering that if she could make herself appear useful, the operation would have a better chance of success. Julio, in response, questioned whether this was truly what she wanted. He then pulled off his shirt, stating that they should take a little break. At that moment, one of the guards entered, carrying a bottle of wine. Handing it to Hana, he informed her to take it and let Lorenzo go. Hana hesitated, questioning whether they truly expected her to drink it. Julio pointed out that she had been the one who had ordered him to strip, and yet she did not even trust him enough for that. Hana gulped, suspecting that the drink had been spiked with something. However, she had no way of knowing whether it was poisoned or drugged. Despite that, she sensed that they were not attempting to kill her, leading her to take the risk. Kicking Lorenzo aside, she grabbed the drink and swallowed it down in one go. Her vision quickly blurred and she noted that it was stronger than she had expected. Staggering, she struggled to remain conscious but ultimately collapsed. However, just before she hit the ground, Giulio caught her, causing the guards to flinch. Calling out for a doctor, Giulio was informed by Romano that the doctor had been set to arrive in 30 minutes. Giulio ordered him to ensure that she was treated properly. As he examined her, he ran his fingers along her neck, commenting that every last inch of her would be taken care of. As a person threatened Hana, stating that he would not simply let this go, he warned her from inside the cage that she should not forget it, intending to make her uneasy. He declared that he would do to her exactly what she had done to him, ensuring that she suffered as much as he had endured. Hana jolted awake from the nightmare, immediately questioning whose room she was in. Realizing that she had been admitted, she recalled that they had only given her sleeping pills, not expecting them to have dressed her. Groaning, she remarked on how awful the nightmare had been, acknowledging that it was a memory she would rather forget. Back when she had been a Valentine's Day agent, a man had ended up behind bars because of her. During the 7 months he had spent in prison, his enemies had tracked down and murdered his entire family. He had cursed her, vowing revenge. Initially, she had only scoffed in contempt, but as time passed, unease grew within her. When things had been at their worst, she had checked on Du Yi every day to ensure his safety. Later, she had heard that the man had been killed after getting caught up in some sort of scheme. It had been the first time she had ever felt happiness upon hearing of someone's death. It had been a terrible experience, one that had shattered her dignity as a human being, a moment of disillusionment she never wanted to relive. Clenching her fist, she told herself that it was fine, that she needed to stop dwelling on it. What mattered now was saving Du Yi, no matter what it took. That had to be her sole focus. However, before planning her next move to convince Parenti, she needed to find something to eat. She wondered if she had thrown out all her clothes, remarking to herself that he was a pervert. She thought about how she had known he would be difficult to deal with, but had not expected him to be so unhinged. She had no idea why he was keeping her alive, and it seemed unlikely that he would accept her offer anytime soon. As she opened the door, she unexpectedly encountered Lorenzo, who seemed just as surprised. Crying out at the sight of her, he reacted instantly. Hana, feeling guilty about what had happened earlier, quickly apologized, thinking that getting on his good side might be beneficial. With some luck, she might be able to extract information about Parenti from him. As she considered this, she recalled that he should not have attempted to pull that gun on her, which had left him feeling resentful. Lorenzo, now regaining his composure, ordered her to return to her room and warned her against attempting anything suspicious. Hana reassured him that she had no such intentions, promising to behave. She then pleaded, stating that she would be the perfect little hostage, and asked if he could get her something to eat. Leonzo hesitated for a moment, and as Hana's stomach growled audibly, he acknowledged that there was not much available in terms of food. He asked if that would be acceptable, to which Hana immediately affirmed that anything would suffice. Turning away, Leonzo instructed her to follow him. As he activated a communication device, he questioned who she really was. An assassin? A North Korean spy? Hana denied both accusations, explaining that she had formerly been part of the South Korean Special Forces, but was now just an unemployed individual. Listening to the conversation through the device, Giulio remained silent. Lorenzo, understanding a Korean word Hana had used, stated that Sai had taught him. Curious, Hana questioned him about it, and he affirmed her assumption, remarking that there is a girl who looks a lot like her. The scene then shifted to the mansion, where rain poured down heavily and cars rumbled as they arrived. The person outside the mansion made a statement indicating that he had arrived. As Lorenzo took Hana to the kitchen, he served her a dish to eat. Seeing this, Hana was very impressed, questioning whether he used to be a chef. Lorenzo, flexing, stated that it was just a hobby of his and asked if she was not going to eat. However, Hana, with her tongue wagging, denied that and said she would dig in, thanking him. She thought about how she had assumed he was just a gun-toting mobster, but he had surprised her. As she took a bite of the dish, she couldn't help but weep, overwhelmed by how good it was, making Lorenzo feel embarrassed. Anna then questioned who the Sai person he had mentioned earlier was, stating that it sounded like a Korean name. She also wondered if Sai was part of the mafia or, perhaps, Giulio's lover, causing Lorenzo to flinch. He simply responded that Sai was one of their colleagues and nothing more. He also advised her never to mention that name in front of Giulio, questioning whether she understood that she shouldn't upset him too much. Hana acknowledged that Giulio was going easy on her, to which she affirmed that she would try. However, she couldn't help but notice that something was definitely going on between Giulio and Sai. Afterward, Lorenzo asked if she was looking for her brother, to which Hana affirmed, questioning if he knew anything. Lorenzo confirmed that he did, stating that Parenti didn't take people hostage. He hated that approach and would rather just eliminate them. Hana then brought up the imposter, questioning whether they planned to do anything about them. Lorenzo explained that if they went after every single person pretending to be him, nothing would ever get done. Hana, surprised, questioned if there was more than one, asking how many. Lorenzo casually stated that there were so many that she would trip over them just by stepping out onto the street. Anna assumed that Giulio wasn't interested in catching them, realizing he had been playing into her hands. She questioned why that was, considering the intelligence service believed they had evidence proving Dway's betrayal. She needed to stay until she could find something to prove otherwise. As she leaned back, she wondered what Giulio might be scheming. Lorenzo then brought up the FBI, questioning whether she was with them. Anna, amused, asked why, stating that it was fun having him question her. Just then, Giulio arrived, noting that the two of them seemed close and questioning whether they had been enjoying a nice date. Lorenzo, caught off guard, scoffed at the idea, reminding Giulio that she had tried to kill him not long ago. He also stated that she wasn't his type, preferring voluptuous women rather than someone who was just a bag of bones. Giulio took a pause, glancing at Hana. He then instructed her to get changed, stating that there were clothes in the bedroom. Hana hesitated, thinking she was starting to like her shirt, but realizing she had little choice, as they had taken all her clothes earlier. She questioned what they were trying to pull. Giulio explained that she couldn't wear that where they were going. Lorenzo then noted that it seemed the preparations were complete. Calling her Signorina, he urged her to change, as they were heading to a funeral outside the mansion. As Hana arrived outside, she realized that they had recovered the body of a colleague who had died in Cambodia and were holding a small service in their memory. Each person held a flower, saying their last goodbyes. Some managed to swallow their tears, while others broke down in sorrow. Hana recited a prayer, wishing for the repose of the deceased. Giulio questioned whether she was speaking Korean. Hana affirmed, explaining that it was what they said at funerals, meaning they hoped the departed would find happiness in the afterlife. Giulio acknowledged it, then told Hana they would talk after the service, as he wanted to finish their conversation from the previous day. As the rain subsided, Hana sat at the table, thinking that only one thing mattered now. She had to make sure Giulio didn't lose interest in her. Clenching her fist, she reminded herself to stay sharp. Giulio, still suspicious of her, asked her to tell him exactly what she wanted from him. Hana stated that there were many things, but Giulio asked her to narrow it down to 3. She then questioned whether he would grant all of her wishes if she told him, to which Giulio responded that it depended on what they were. Hana stated her first wish, to have him help her find her brother Du Yi. The second was to track down whoever had targeted him. The third would be, where is her plate? Giulio questioned whether the food she had eaten earlier wasn't enough, smirking as he ordered everyone to leave, shocking the servants. As the servants prepared to exit, Giulio spun out the dish, offering it to Hana, for which she thanked him. Hana speculated that she should probably pocket the knife just in case she needed it later. Giulio remarked that the more he thought about it, the funnier it seemed. Stepping closer to Hana, he stated that she still knew nothing about him, despite the fact that he had a highly skilled intelligence officer working for him, yet even they had been unable to uncover anything about her. He then mentioned that he just thought he would warn her. He grabbed Hana by the neck, threatening that taming dangerous and insolent animals like her was his specialty, and in that sense, she was getting him very excited. Hana considered what a psycho he was, realizing that he was even more deranged than she had initially thought. Taking a step back, Hana asked if once he had tamed them, he slaughtered them without mercy. Giulio denied it, clarifying that he only killed the ones who pretended to be tamed. He started visualizing which part of them to start with and what he should do to them. Hana responded that she understood his principles but questioned why his hand was still around her neck. Giulio glared at her with menacing eyes before mentioning Gavin Smith. He stated that they had found her bag near the site of the collision and that inside it was a video of Gavin Smith, who had been caught on tape along with her brother just before the bomb went off. Hana questioned if he had seen the video, to which Giulio threatened her to answer his question and demanded to know what her relationship with Gavin Smith was. Hana thought back to the video, realizing that the man next to Du Yi had been following him with a limp. Du Yi had been the only one wearing an exclusive device, so she had assumed that he was just an informant for the enemy. It dawned on her that the man was Gavin Smith, the former FBI agent. Giulio stated that Smith had been one of the FBI's most elite agents and had a deep grudge against him. He explained that Smith had once tricked him into waging a war against the Red Mafia, leaving New York City in chaos, and had wanted to have him eliminated. However, Smith had suddenly quit the FBI and had not been seen since, at least not until that video, and with her brother no less. He strangled Hana as she shivered, asking why that person would do that to her brother. She tried to secretly extend her arm toward the knife. Giulio threatened her to drop the act, stating that he was surrounded by enemies and would not even trust God himself. However, her brother was somehow involved with an FBI agent who had dedicated his life to getting him killed. He questioned if she still expected him to trust her and help her find her brother, who was almost certainly with Smith at that moment. Gripping the knife, Hana stated that Giulio was just using Du Yi, and it was obvious that he was in danger. Giulio demanded that she drop the act. Hana refused, stating that if Du Yi had somehow gotten caught up with the FBI, she had no time to lose. Swinging the knife, she screamed that it was enough already and attempted to slash Giulio's neck. Hana declared that just as he cared about his family, she valued her brother's life more than her own, pointing the knife at him. She insisted that Du Yi would never betray his own agency, no matter what everyone else was saying. Giulio paused for a moment before stating that it was her he was suspicious of, not her brother. Hana questioned him, affirming that she was not an FBI agent, though she knew he would not believe anything she said. Giulio asked why he should, pointing out that she was a stranger, an alien entity he could not even identify. Hana gritted her teeth in frustration. Determined, Hana introduced herself as Hana Lee, a mercenary in the employ of Valentine. She revealed that one was her alias. She then sarcastically remarked that he probably did not even know what any of that meant. Running her hand through her hair, she cursed, expressing her wish that she were an FBI agent or something of the sort. If she had that kind of power, none of this would have happened. However, Giulio suddenly told her to wait. Moving closer to her, he admitted that the more he got to know her, the more fascinated he became, as he found himself unable to hold back. Hana questioned what he was doing, but before she could react, Giulio kissed her, deepening it more and more. Suppressing her anger, Hana retaliated by stabbing him. Giulio took a step back, instructing her to go ahead and push the knife in further. As Hana dug it out, Giulio smirked, remarking that he thought he was going to develop a sinful interest in her as he grabbed hold of her once more. As Hana shoved Giulio, she shouted at him to cut the crap before heading out, stating that she was not there to kill him. However, before she could make much progress, she found herself cuffed at both her arms and feet. Frustrated, she questioned whether he was planning to take them off, to which Giulio firmly denied. Meanwhile, he was getting treated. Hana remarked that he must have thought she couldn't break free even if she wanted to, but Giulio denied it, stating that he was certain she was perfectly capable of doing so. However, he insisted that it would be in her best interest to keep them on while he was being treated. He added that there was no telling what he might do to her if she attempted to escape. Hana found herself thinking that her plans kept getting derailed, and she had initially assumed that he was just a regular mobster. She had believed that it would be easy to goad him into wanting revenge, even though she was well aware of the risks involved. She had thought she could handle it, but it seemed she had miscalculated. Trying to shift the conversation, Hana asked Julio about Gavin Smith, questioning whether he even knew how to find him. Julio responded that he was sure he would be able to track him down one way or another if he put his mind to it. Hana then asked why Gavin wanted him dead. Cracking his neck, Julio stated that it was because he had killed Gavin's younger brother, clearly trying to unsettle her. Hana immediately sprang up, screaming and cursing at Julio, barely restraining herself from letting him get to her. She knew he was merely testing her. Gritting her teeth, she asked when he planned to release her. Julio responded that he would do so when he felt he could trust her. Until then, she would remain his hostage. Hana scoffed at the statement, sarcastically remarking that it wasn't as if she hadn't already been a hostage all this time. Julio smirked and corrected himself, saying that in that case they would call her a prisoner instead, one that he could dispose of at any moment. Hana clenched her fists, realizing she couldn't just sit there doing nothing. She figured that her best option would be to overpower the two men guarding her, assuming they were unarmed. If she could knock them out, she could jump out of the window and escape. However, before she could act, Romano, standing behind her, pointed at her and warned her not to even think about it. He instructed her to return to her room, assuring her that they would treat her with respect as long as she remained cordial. Hearing this, Julio bursts into laughter, causing Hana to turn to him, demanding to know what he found so funny. Embarrassed, she muttered curses under her breath, wondering if she should just kill them all and be done with it. Later, as Julio inspected Hana's belongings, he picked up one of her cards and read it. Recognizing the name, he muttered to himself that he had heard of her. She was a legendary agent. He recalled that the first time he had laid eyes on her, he had thought she was the Grim Reaper sent to kill him. The moment he had seen her bloodied face and that crazed look in her eyes, he had felt a strange sense of liberation. Perhaps, deep down, he had even wanted her to pull the trigger. Just then, Romano entered, prompting Julio to question him about the name on the projector. Romano glanced at it and stated that he believed it said Mujin Kang. Julio then asked if he could look into the name, to which Romano agreed. Without hesitation, Julio also instructed him to find Logan Valentine's number. When Romano inquired about the reason, Julio stated that Hana Lee used to work for him. Romano nodded in understanding, remarking that it was no wonder she seemed so dangerous. Julio then stated that they had a lot of people to find and a lot of people to kill. Later, Hana found herself dressed, but the frustration in her voice was evident as she questioned whether they were serious. They hadn't even pretended to listen when she told them she wouldn't run away, and despite all her yelling, no one had come to help her. It had already been a whole day. Flopping onto the bed, she muttered that she needed to use the bathroom, and that the situation was a complete disaster. Just then, Julio entered the room with a smirk on his face. Hana, upon seeing him, immediately questioned whether he found her predicament funny. Irritated, she asked if he could at least undo the cuffs. Stepping further into the room, Julio stated that he wasn't laughing, remarking that she seemed to be doing just fine. He then questioned whether she needed sleep. Hana scoffed at the suggestion, retorting that there was no way she would be able to sleep in this condition. She swore that she wouldn't try to run and urged him to hurry up and remove the cuffs, stating that she desperately needed to use the bathroom. Observing her closely, Julio leaned in, grabbing her arm for a moment. Hana screamed in frustration, exclaiming that he had obviously heard her and she wouldn't be able to hold it in much longer. Growing more embarrassed, she pleaded with him to do something. Julio sighed before muttering that she was driving him insane. Julio slid his hand under her garments to undress her. Afterwards, Hana emerged from the bathroom. Since Hana couldn't be trusted, the handcuffs were switched to behind her back before she came out. She then asked for her pants, which he had taken off earlier, so she could put them back on. Julio questioned whether she had washed her hands, to which Hana, irritated, asked if he was joking and groaned about how she was supposed to do that in her current state. Julio simply stated that there was an easy fix for that. Hana, now cautious, told him to hold on as he loomed over her, taking her hands and washing them himself. Embarrassed, she found herself unable to believe the situation she was in. As he grabbed her hands, Hana glanced at him, prompting Julio to ask what it was. He then teasingly questioned whether there were other parts of her body she wanted him to wash as well. Hana, unimpressed, remarked that she understood he was getting aroused, but pointed out that being so obvious about it was a huge turnoff. Julio then asked if she she preferred a more understated approach to seduction, to which Hana firmly denied, stating that no amount of smooth talking would get her to sleep with him. She valued her life far too much. Chuckling, Giulio remarked that it should be his line, since she was the one who had stabbed him while he was kissing her. Hana quickly reminded him that he had strangled her, showing him the marks on her neck. Leaning in, Giulio casually stated that the marks suited her, causing Hana to call him a psychopath before shrugging it off and attempting to move past him. However, just as she did, Giulio grabbed her and threw her onto the bed. Hana screamed, demanding to know what he thought he was doing, but Giulio only responded that if she played nice, he might give her a present. As he pulled out her phone, Hana immediately recognized it and realized that it must be a message from Du Yi. Desperate, she demanded that he hand it over, but Giulio slipped it into his pocket, instructing her to play nice if she wanted it back. When he implied that she wasn't interested, Hana immediately denied it, springing into action as she determined that she had to get the phone back somehow. Without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him, enveloping him with her legs as she calculated her next move. Seeing her chance, she suddenly flipped Giulio over, causing the phone to slip from his pocket and land behind them. Hana quickly attempted to grab it with her mouth, but Giulio immediately caught her head, pulling her into another kiss. Struggling, Hana cursed under her breath, realizing exactly what he was trying to do. In frustration, she bit down on his tongue, making him recoil as she pulled away. Rising to her feet, she spat out a remark, telling Giulio to save his tricks for his own girl. Giulio paused, muttering to himself, before stating that she was right. He then admitted that he should have known better. She was nothing like her. Hana, confused, questioned what he meant, but instead of answering, Giulio simply stepped back and told her to put on some clothes and follow him. He informed her that they had guests waiting downstairs. Curious, Hana asked who these guests were, to which Giulio revealed that they are relief pitchers, the ones who would help her regain her freedom. The revelation caught her completely off guard. Afterward, as Hana screamed out to Giulio, asking if he could at least let her take a second look at the phone, she insisted that